even just going to games as a fan, you'd only ever really see the sports scientist taking the warm up or handing out the water bottles during different breaks, or whether it was the physio running on to treat an injury. But I very much think that performance analysis in football is very much in the background compared to other sports. So in rugby, whenever they pan up to the manager, you tend to see the analyst sat in front of him with the laptops, whereas in football, it tends to be a little more kind of outward view.
Okay, welcome to episode 3 of the Welcome Football podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Matthew Jenkins, who is first team performance analyst at Cardiff City. Matthew, welcome to the podcast, mate, and thank you very much for coming on.
No, perfect. Thanks for the invite. Never done anything like this before, so it's always good to branch out, try something new. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, see how it goes. So first of all, could you sort of introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yeah, so like you say, I currently work as part of the first team performance analysis department at Cardiff City Football Club. I think I'm in my 7th full season now working in professional football, during which time I've been quite fortunate to work both here at Cardiff City and also had a spell at West Bromwich Albion. During that time, I've held roles both performance analysis, data analysis, recruitment analysis. So I like to think I've got quite wide range of experience, and from that built quite a broad skill set that I can apply on a day-to-day basis. During that time, I've worked in the Premier League, Championship, as well as both Category 1 and Category 2 football at under 23 level at the time, and now under 21 level. Within that, I worked under a series of different managers, worked in a lot of different environments and coaching process, and from that, I'd like to think I'm ready to kind of hit the ground running now and enter that next stage of my career.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How old are you, by the way?
29, so I'm 30 in March, so almost the wrong side of 30, but yeah, so I've got a few minutes left. So
pretty impressive to have 7 years of experience at that age. That's pretty impressive. So, right, I'm going to just do some quick fire questions, if you don't mind, and then we've got some more in-depth questions. So,
perfect.
If you can answer these, then yeah, that'd be great. So, best away fans that you see?
Newcastle. I think they brought 6,000-7,000 down on a Friday night once. It was the season they were in the Champion and getting promoted. I think Sunderland were getting relegated that year as well, and they were just incredible. They didn't stop for the 90 minutes, so yeah, Newcastle.
Yeah, they're very great fans. Funniest person that you've met in football? I know who this is, but cool.
Mick McCarthy. We had Mick McCarthy for a spell as manager, and he was hilarious. Just really dry sense of humour. Some of the little comments, one-liners he come out with, and then just whenever he got going, talking about stories about his career, you could sit there all day and listen to him. So yeah, Mick McCarthy was funny.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be quick fire questions, but I'm such a chatterbox. I don't know if it was yourself or Liam at the event in Cardiff. I think it might have been Liam was saying about, after he left, he spoke to the guy who was taking over, and I think he went out with everyone. He was really good, apparently, Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, he took us all for a meal after when he left, paid for it all himself. So yeah, even after he left, like the week later, he rang all the staff individually and also just thanked them for their efforts during his time here. So yeah, top bloke. I've got a lot of time for him. Yeah,
sure guy. So funniest story that you can think of during your career so far?
Funniest story? Oh, a lot of them I probably wouldn't want to repeat on here, or I wouldn't want to kind of implicate anyone. There was one, we went on, this was when I was 21s or 23s analyst at Cardiff, who went on pre-season tour to Cornwall. So Andy Legg was the manager of the under-21s team at the time, and not sure if you heard of the Football Golf Classic, I think it's called. So it's an event at La Manga Golf Club in Spain in the summer, and essentially you can enter a team onto this golf kind of week, and then the premise is you go out there, enter your team, and you get paired with a ex-professional footballer, and you play golf with them for the week. Anyway, so Andy Dibble, who was first team goalkeeper coach at the time, he was on pre-season tour with the first team in America, and he was also on this golf event, and his group had come last in the competition that year, and they had like a closing ceremony or closing do night out, whatever. And there was a rumour going around that if you finish last in the competition, you don't get invited back the next year onto the next event of the golf tour. So we were at the bar one night, and we've come up with this idea that we've created this fake email address, and I've basically pretended to work for this events company and just basically said, Andy, thanks for your efforts coming out this year for the event, but due to us wanting to kind of uphold the prestigious event, we're not going to invite you back next year due to you finishing last on the course. And he's fallen for it, and he's rang kind of the main organiser, Terry Lancini, who's who's an ex-pro, and he's kicking off down the phone saying, "How can you not invite me back? Everything I've done for you." And I think the guy's just been like, "Yeah, I think someone's on a wind up here." So that was a pretty good one. I got everyone a good laugh on pre-season tour.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many of those stories that I imagine that like fans and
Oh yeah, especially like
like
previous years, like especially when like the likes of Warnock and that here, it was just a circus every day. There was always something going on, whether it was in training or off the pitch. Yeah, that's probably one of the cleaner stories.
right under.
I was 21 at the time, so I didn't have a
Oh,
great deal of like direct contact, but in terms of him being able to get a group of people to work for him, just the kind of man management side of things, the way he walked into a room, he instantly kind of demanded respects. If you were talking, you'd almost lower your conversation or you sit up that little bit straighter. Just that kind of presence around the building. Yeah, there's definitely, you can see how he's had so much success in his career from that.
so next question: do you believe Wales will qualify for the American World Cup USA?
Quietly confident. I think a lot may depend on injuries. I think we've got a reasonable starting 11 and a couple of players. But outside of that, I think we do lack a bit of depth in certain positions. But with it being expanded as well, and obviously us having the Nations League place as well now, I'm quietly confident.
When could be doing together in the great elements of recently.
Yeah, it's good that he's obviously come in, implementing maybe a slightly different style of play compared to the predecessor. So quietly confident on that one.
Okay, so diving into some more in-depth questions now. Can you remember a time that proved to be, a significant step for you stepping into performance analysis? Like you said, you've done, a few different roles. So when was the time when you thought, yeah, I'm going to go, full into performance analysis?
So the biggest thing was me just getting that first initial bit of experience in terms of hands-on practical experience at a football club. So I was quite fortunate that the first kind of break I had in my career was straight in at the first team level here at Cardiff City. I understand now I was pretty privileged and fortunate to be given that opportunity. We're probably quite a limited and bare CV at the time in terms of performance analysis. Potentially a lot of situational factors played in my favour at the point in terms of already lived in Cardiff. So it wasn't really me going up too far out of my way to get to the internship in terms of getting to the training ground and giving up my time, etc. But yeah, for me, that was massive. Without that, obviously what the boys did for me here at Cardiff City at the time, obviously they took a chance on me, and I'd like to think I've repaid that in the time I've been here since then. So yeah, just that first bit of experience, and I'm sure we'll go on to it later in the podcast, but just people getting that first kind of foot in the door somewhere is going to be massive for them on their performance analysis career journey.
Couldn't agree more. So, so take us back to obviously you did go to university, right? You went that uni route.
Yeah, so I did a sport and exercise science degree initially, and then I've done a master's in performance analysis afterwards.
Yeah. So you obviously found an interest in performance analysis in whilst at university, I guess.
Yeah, it was something I kind of fell into. I must be honest. It wasn't something I was aware of prior to going to university. Always grew up with a keen interest in football and knew that I wanted to be involved in some capacity. What that would look like, I didn't really know. Even just going to games as a fan, you'd only ever really see the sports scientist taking the warm up or handing out the water bottles during different breaks, or whether it was the physio running on to treat an injury. But I very much think that performance analysis in football is very much in the background compared to other sports. So in rugby, whenever they pan up to the manager, you tend to see the analyst sat in front of him with the laptops, whereas in football, it tends to be a little more kind of outward view. So like I said, before I went to uni, I didn't really have any idea of what performance analysis was. So I just went and did the generic sport and exercise science degree thinking I'll become a sports scientist almost. So it wasn't until kind of second and third year where you start choosing modules and kind of narrowing down your career path a little bit more that I fell into it and just instantly thought, yeah, this is something I'd love to make a career of. Obviously sitting, watching football all day, which is probably the easiest way to describe my job. I mean, who wouldn't want to do something like that?
So obviously you said we weren't even aware of performance analysis, and I say that to quite a lot of students. Students aren't, I don't think they're aware of the different roles. Like, yeah, mate, you could list so many different roles, and what we have on our website, there's a whole list of them. But like things like player care, which I was at Portsmouth. I done analysis actually for a season, and then I was player care officer at the women's team, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So I think I always say to students, like, try things at uni. That's your time to try internships. Like you said, you was on a sports and exercise science degree, but then decided to go into performance analysis, I tell people, just because you're on a sport management degree doesn't, you can go any role really, and as long as you got the qualifications and stuff. So would you say for students who maybe aren't sure what they want to do, just try different things and you'll soon find what you want to do?
Oh, massively. There is, especially at the bigger clubs, there's a team behind the team these days. It's not purely you see the 5 or 6 coaches on the bench at the games. There's a whole team behind, whether it's obviously football or match day stuff in terms of analysis, or then off the field stuff in terms of player liaison, player care. There's so many different roles now in football that if you do have an interest in being involved at that elite environment, you can almost find a role that's suitable for you. But yeah, go out, get as much experience as possible, trial and error until you find something that really kind of ticks your box.
Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on performance analysis again. So obviously when I was at the Portsmouth Academy, you had the head of academy analysis, and then you had like 3 or 4 interns who would do some of the younger games and stuff. Obviously at a first team, I imagine you have a head analyst and then maybe 2 or 3. Is it probably 2 or 3 full-time analysts, and then there's a mix of all?
Yeah. So our department at first team level, we have Jack, who's head of department, and then me and Nick work under him as kind of 2 assistants. We've also got a full-time under-21s analyst who's also based here at the first team training ground. And then within the academy, we've got a under-18s analyst who also leads up the academy just due to the split sites. He has a part-time 16s analyst working under him who's a student placement. And then within that, we have a series of interns all filming age range from under 9s all the way up to under 16s really. So quite an extensive partner when you take the whole club into account, but a lot of internships in the academy.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, obviously the departments were so much smaller. And this leads me on to my question. Do you think that the departments with performance analysis would just keep, growing and growing until, you've got a really, a bigger department for that?
I think other clubs, especially with the infrastructure and resources and also the kind of financial capability to do that, with just the way analysis has taken off in the last 5 to 10 years, I think there's no option for them but to grow the departments with all the data and everything else coming into the discipline. I think having that skill set within the department is going to be massive for clubs to compete at the very top. In terms of here, we're slowly growing, so probably 3-4 years ago it would have just been a 2-man department, whereas now we're lucky to have a 3rd one. So again, that just enhances what we can do as a department in terms of making sure filming's covered training's covered every day, with filming, etc., and just the more kind of games and data we can get through. So yeah, I definitely say that it's got no choice, but it's going to have to keep continuing to grow in order to keep up with the demands of the coaching staff, etc.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the same across some of the other departments too. Like player care, for example, 5, 6, 7 years ago wasn't even a thing. When it started, you just had one. Then it was brought in the academies, the EPPP system required player care officer. And then now you've probably got, maybe some clubs do interns. First team, you could be looking at 2 or 3. So again, it's probably the same across all departments.
Yes, massively, especially with
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, with the influx of foreign players as well, having kind of player liaison officers, people, even if it's just a translator, just roles that can help players come over and settle in best they can, and also just reduce the risk in terms of that. If you're going to bring a player from abroad, there's obviously a risk attached to it, but if you've got the necessary capabilities to also make that smooth transition for him, he's got a better chance of succeeding. So yeah, like I say, I think all departments are just going to continue to grow throughout the club.
So what would you say is your favourite thing about working in football? I know it's not going to be the long hours. That's the worst.
I think it's just being part of that environment, just coming to work and having that real passion for football and just enjoying what you do. I'm sure we've all been part of a sports team at some point in our lives, and just that sense of kind of togetherness and almost being on that journey to want to achieve something. We haven't had the best of luck the last couple of seasons, but you'd like to think there's a group of people in the building that are all pushing towards a similar end goal. And yeah, so probably just that enjoyment of coming in and thinking I'm having some impact in some way on what we're trying to get to. That's probably what I get most fulfillment out of in my day-to-day work, is almost sitting there at the end of the day or sitting there on a Saturday afternoon after the game and thinking I've helped to contribute in some way, shape or form. So that's what kind of makes me tick as a person, just having that kind of impact in my role.
Yeah, I was saying that to someone the other day who was talking about analysis. Like, if you can literally see where your impact is. Maybe you've spotted a player, or you've spotted something. I don't know, the right back being left footed, or I don't know anything. Right? If you spot that, and then the players get that information, and then they implement that, or maybe a set piece or whatever, for you that can feel like a real high, can't it?
Yes, just feel like you've had some impact on the end result. Obviously, you're not going out there and lacing up your boots. I'd love to be able to do that, but that was never a viable career option for me. So just thinking I'm helping in another way, like you say, whether it's just a small piece of information regarding a certain player, or going through the penalties with the goalkeepers or something, just little bits like that. And then just seeing that kind of translate from almost the office and the computer to actually onto the pitch is great to see, and get a lot of reward from that.
Do you think that having career goals are really important in terms of trying to break into football? And do you have your own goals where, even though you've made it to an unbelievable level, you still have aspirations and sort of ambitions?
Yeah, of course I have aspirations. Like, in short, I want to get as far as possible in football, get to the very top. I'd love to get back to working in the Premier League in the short term. Long term, like seeing how kind of football's developed in other countries, America, Australia, etc. Like, I wouldn't discount if that opportunity come up, moving abroad, experiencing a new culture, a new league, etc. So yeah, even now I'm 7 years into a career, and I know the importance of not standing still for too long, not getting comfortable in the environment, and continuing to push myself and strive for better. So yeah, I definitely still have that roadmap, if you like, in terms of where I want my career to go. That was the same when I was starting out. I knew what the next step was for me, whether it was to get that first job, or then get into the first team, or whatever it may be. I think it's really important to sit down and always plan what you want to do in your career. And then from that, you've got to have some kind of action plan or a tick list of, right, how am I going to get there? What do I need to complete in order to get to that level? So yeah, that's certainly something I'm still going through now. Will I ever get there? You never know, but when opportunities present themselves, you've got to jump at it.
Yeah, I think that's really important, like you said, about having a goal, but then having like a tick list or something where it's not just a goal, work for Liverpool. It's, okay, what do I need to do? Well, probably need 6-7 years experience, need to, grow your network, etc. And that's what I sort of try and tell some of the students at university. Don't just have a goal, like you say, have a list where you can tick off, so you know what you have to do in order to get that goal. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, massively. Just short-term goals eventually are going to lead to your long-term goals. So yeah, for me, I'm just each day trying to work hard and think what's next for me. I'll see how we get there.
Yeah, cool. So, moving on to students who want to, become performance analysts, what softwares would you recommend that they can, maybe download or get some trials from, and familiarize themselves before going into a club?
So the ones who are probably in university and have access to obviously a little bit more in terms of hardware. For me, I've always used Huddle, and I've coming through. That was at uni. Both Cardiff and West Brom have always kind of used Huddle, and that's generally considered as kind of the gold standard in terms of analysis software. Obviously, the deals they've done with like StatsBomb and Y-Scouts means they're kind of building quite a big monopoly in terms of the analysis software. They've got a lot of coverage across the league. So yeah, probably just getting comfortable using that initially, whether it's capturing games, coding, organizers, data, whatever it may be. I think if you get a really good, firm understanding of Huddle products, whether it's the Sports Code or the Y-Scout, I think just when you eventually get that step in the club and you do get a Mac put in front of you and you're asked to put some clips together or whatever it may be, you have a baseline in terms of, right, I can create a code window, I can create an XML, I can put these clips together, I can present on them. I think that'd be a really good starting place. Obviously, I understand that it's not cheap, the Huddle software, and a lot of clubs are now starting to use alternatives just due to the price. But yeah, especially if you're in university and you've got that access to that equipment, I definitely recommend kind of getting to grips with that as the first point of call.
So for let's say a student who wants to become an analyst, a very broad question, but what advice would you have for them? Almost like a roadmap, would you say? Like, say you had to start university again, what would you do in order to, get to your current position?
As soon as I started uni, I think I'd be out there looking for some kind of placement, practical work experience. I don't want to discredit anyone in university at the moment or any of the courses that people are on, because I still think you need that theoretical grounding almost to set you off. But I think a lot of the times when we've reviewed CVs in terms of job applications, etc., I think the first thing we jump to is their practical experience. So I'm a big advocate for going out and almost learning on the job. I was thrown in at the deep end, and it's almost that sink or swim mindset of, right, I've got this opportunity, I'm going to take it with both hands. So yeah, I didn't get any experience until after I'd finished my undergrad. So if people can get out in their first, second or third year and start getting bits on the CV in terms of a placement, whether it's with a uni team, externally, whatever it may be, I think just go out and get as much practical experience as many different places as possible.
In terms of networking, did you do much networking at university, or was it something you didn't really touch upon?
Not really, and it's probably something I've not done enough in the kind of early stages of my career also. So obviously being invited to come and speak at your event a few weeks ago was the first kind of public speaking I'd really done in that sense. If you probably asked me a couple of years ago, I probably would have said no. Even to doing a podcast like this, I would have been like, well, is this really going to help me in my day-to-day work? Potentially not, but now I'm kind of 2 years into a first team role. I'm thinking of that next step, and that's potentially something that's letting me down at the moment in terms of, if I apply for a job, is my name out there? Do people know enough about me to think, right, we'll take a chance on him? So yeah, it's probably not something I've done enough, especially for uni or the early parts of my careers, but I'm definitely a big advocate for the importance of doing it. Hence why I'm kind of jumping on things like this at the moment, just trying to build that broader network, like you say, on a lot of your posts, that football's a bit of a closed circle. Everyone will know someone or know of someone that knows someone. So the more you can get your name out and almost build your brand as someone who's a respectable kind of practitioner in the sport, that's only going to benefit you when you start applying for jobs, etc.
Yeah, I think that's important for the students, but also people who, have who work in football, and that brand thing I think is really important. So yeah, I agree. Now, how would you say, so for those students, and there's a lot now who are doing the masters in performance analysis, how can they sort of stand out among, I don't know how many do these courses a year, but it's quite a lot. How can they stand out?
Yeah, like you say, it's a really kind of saturated marketplace now, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
the timing of when my career kind of got started was probably a little bit before things really picked up. So the year I graduated was the first year there was a specific performance analysis degree at the university I went to. So I think I was a little bit ahead of the kind of rush. But for me, like I said, you've got to build your brand. You've got to make yourself stand out. What's going to set you apart? What's going to make you different from the hundreds of other people coming out with the same qualification as yourself? Well, I don't want to discredit getting a broad kind of analysis background and sense of skill set. If there is a kind of niche or a USP that you've really want to kind of hone in on, I'd really recommend doing that. So analysis is so much more than simply just someone filming and coding a game these days. You've got the data side of it. So if you've got a really kind of keen data focus, go out, learn how to script, Python, R, like, can you implement data visualizations, etc. If you've got like a really kind of coaching background, can you kind of look at that coach analyst kind of role? And then positional, like people are getting goalkeeper analysts, positional specific recruitment analysis. So there's so many more jobs available in analysis, not purely just filming and coding games. So I think by all means go out and get a broad analysis skill set to begin with. Go and try different things. But if there is something you've got a real passion for, make that your USP, make that special, and almost create your own role in analysis. Pitch yourself to clubs, be like, well, this is what I can do for you based on my skill set. And then from that, give them no option not to give you an internship or a placement or a phone call, whatever it may be. Just put the impetus on them to be like, this is not what you can do for me. This is what I can do for you. This is my skill set. This is how I'm going to have a positive impact in your environment. This is why you should give me a chance.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that. That was literally my next question, and you've literally answered it. So yeah, I couldn't agree more in terms of that, like going to clubs, because so many people that come to me and say like, I can't find many placements, or like I can't find internships, and there's very obviously there's a few in analysis, but there's not loads. I tell people to like go and create your own opportunities. So like you just said, if you go to a club and say, listen, I know you've got maybe training on and this could be an academy club, this could be a women's team, or this could be like a non-league team. I could do your filming on Tuesday and Thursdays when you have training, and then I can film your games, and then I'll code the opposition for you, maybe clip up some opposition stuff. Like you say, you're making it very hard for the club to say no, aren't you?
Yeah, you've got to make it easy for yourself to do it, but also just the club almost can't refuse. like all coaches are going to want more. If you give coaches stuff for free, they're always going to take whatever, more clips, more footage, more day, whatever it may be. So yeah, I'd really advocate just going out and also just selling yourself to them and be like, this is why you should give me an opportunity.
Yeah, and the best thing with that is when you get that experience, hopefully whilst you're at university, or say someone's not even a student, they can still do that. Then when you do graduate, you've got, hopefully, I'll recommend people do that in first, second, and third year. But then you could have 3 years experience, hopefully working at a club, and then you graduate, and then you're in a position to get a role instead of graduating and then you're sort of like, right, now I need to find experience. Problem is now you need a job. Now you're stuck. And that's how, I think that's how people, they don't reach their dreams of working in football, because then that problem happens and they're like, I need a job. They take a job at B&Q or Tesco's or whatever.
Yep.
Expect, and then if they're stuck, and then it's really hard. I think that happens quite a lot.
Yeah, sounds a lot like my career. So I obviously did my 3 years in uni. Well, I was lucky enough to get an internship kind of straight out of uni. I did that alongside my masters, but I think I did 18 months of unpaid work here at Cardiff City. And then probably the last 3 or 4 months of that, I'd had 5 or 6 different interviews at different clubs, and I wasn't really getting anywhere, to be honest. And like when you get to that age, you're thinking, how long can I do this? I was working part-time jobs, etc. And it was also like, you're getting pressure from other people thinking, right, are you going to make it in football, or are you going to have to go out and find a new career? So yeah, it definitely reduces the chances if you can get that experience while you're in uni. You're in a much better place when you come out of uni. So then there's not that pressure to go out and get a job at the start of finding that career. We can almost just transition straight into it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So I think there's a misconception in football that a lot of people, they want to work in football, they see it as like this shiny and like glamorous industry. I think you might have mentioned it on your talk. Would you say that that is a bit of a misconception? It's not as glamorous as people make out?
Massively, it's such a lifestyle you commit to. Sacrifice in terms of the days you're in work, especially at analysis. Don't want to discredit the work the other departments do at the football club, but analysts are always the longest hours in my eyes. Even on days off, you're never too far away from the laptop. In terms of schedule, you're pretty much told when and where to be for 10, 11 months of the year, and you only really get that 6 weeks off in the summer between seasons. So yeah, you do sacrifice a lot in terms of miss your social events, family events, birthdays. Christmas is coming up. We're away on Boxing Day, so I'm going to be spending Christmas night or Christmas Day night in a hotel in Oxford. So yeah, there's that side of things that people potentially don't see. A lot of travel. So it took us 5 hours on a bus to get to Sheffield on Friday night, 5 hours to get home, etc. So your weekend's pretty much gone. We do travel like in comfort, if that makes sense. The bus is pretty nice. Occasionally we get a flight to the longer kind of games. Hotels are always pretty good, but the novelty of that wears off pretty quickly once you've done a few hotels. They're all pretty much the same. The wages as well, it's not what you think. Obviously, the players earn X amount. It's not always a direct translation to the staff, depending on almost how you've got that job dictates a lot. If you're an intern and you've kind of worked your way up through the levels, you're almost seen as the cheaper options. You don't tend to really reach the same level of wages compared to if a manager has directly brought you in from another club, etc. And then just, especially at this club, the overall just kind of uncertainty, how quickly things change in terms of managers. I think in my 7 years, I'm averaging a new manager every 6 to 9 months at the moment. So every time you think you kind of get settled in terms of being part of a coaching process, and you know almost how a coach wants to work in terms of which days he wants to do which bits on, it changes quite quickly. So yeah, there is all that side of things. Don't get me wrong, there are its perks in terms of just being around the environment, especially for me being from Cardiff and a Cardiff City fan. It was a little surreal at first to almost be kind of rubbing shoulders with the players, but now you just understand that they're just the same as you normal people, but just tend to earn a little bit more than you as well. So yeah.
No, that's really insightful. I think that's really interesting, for people to hear that as well. Like you say, it's important to know it's not just us working in football. It's hard to get there, but it's also difficult as well when you're in, I imagine. So thanks for that. So final question, and I'll ask this to everyone. So if your career was a film, what would the title be, and who would play you?
Oh, film. Not a big film game, more of a box set series guy at the moment. Some of my career. something like first in, last out, just again about the hours or something. Just generally one of the first in the morning, and generally one of the last two. So first in, last out. Sorry, and an actor. Maybe from like Tom Holland or something. Seems a pretty cool guy. He's doing all right for himself. So yeah, let's go with that.
First in. Yeah, that's a cool title. I was so I worked with a guy called Jack Rogers at Portsmouth. Things at Red Zone Analysis now, and he was to say like first in every day, and then last out, and that's just it.
Yeah, fair. That's all of us as a whole. That's not just me. That's the analysis department. So, yeah, we spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah, awesome. So, thank you to Matt. Thank you for coming on, mate. Really do appreciate that. And yeah, I know it's been really insightful for people who will tune in.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for the invite, and yeah, hope you've enjoyed it.
Awesome. So thank you very much for watching. That was episode 3. Like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and I will see you next time. Cheers.